So I typically do the development. So an organization I'll either suggest some requirements for a particular deliverable, or sometimes they might be fed to me, and I'll either advise in terms of whether Optimizely is being used in the correct kind of way, if we're following best practices for what the features are and the set of implementation details, and then from there, then I typically take care of the delivery. So I'll either do the coding, or if I'm working with another development team, I'll do the discovery, the user stories, and hand it over to them. So I think the user interface for content admins is very good and very competitive and compared to other providers. The technology that CMS in particular has, so the way it integrates with the .NET ecosystem, is very well because it follows the MVC pattern. So basically, it just allows really simple implementations for what would normally be complex components on, any other sort of vendor that's out there. The SaaS product, I had mixed experiences using CMS SaaS just because I used it at a time when it's very much in its infancy. So some of the features I think are still sort of being defined. So I done a CMS SaaS implementation um, using it was sort of a hybrid sort of approach where it had some reliance on the pass product because I think it was still being rolled out at the time. So the documentation, for example, left a lot to be desired. I had to do quite a lot of complex GraphQL queries and realized that actually all of the schema then changed after we'd sort of fine tuned the queries. So it just felt like the SaaS product went to market a little bit prematurely. It would have been nice if it was sort of, wait until a more refined version was produced and then the documentation and stuff was there to match it. So I had trouble sort of learning about SaaS and yeah, writing those queries and working with the documentation a little bit just because it was within its infancy. I would say nine. So very much, if a business is doing a rebrand, for example, or digital transformation, the DXP product is super competitive. The managed services that are provided around the infrastructure and all of the moving parts really, really works well. So it just makes life as a developer very easy when ultimately you just have to do the code and deploy it out and don't worry about the environment infrastructure. So I think it's really, really well and fits in really well with that. Areas where it's not so great in my experience, I would say, well, I've already mentioned kind of the CMS, the SaaS product, but also just in general, it feels like we're going through a bit of a transition period with the documentation at the moment. So when new features are rolled out or, the product catalog expands, the documentation isn't always the best or streamlined. So that can make life as a developer a little bit awkward at times. Usability 10. Just because the user interface, I love using it. It's very familiar. It works very well. So Umbraco is quite close to my heart. I've done lots of CMS implementations in Umbraco. Done a little bit of Sitecore, done some WordPress. What else? Probably those three, I would say. Well, it's a more refined commercial product. It's more mature. So in Umbraco, for example, that's an open source, free content management system. So you don't get the bells and whistles that come with Optimizely. Obviously, with it being open source as well, as also question marks about security and things like that. Optimizely is very well geared towards the commercial sort of side and the big corporate customers and brands that exist out there. So I think it's a very good fit with regards to that. Positive return on investment in every business I've ever worked on has been huge. There's always been a very healthy ROI. Negative can be the implementation details. So sometimes things can be a little bit overcomplicated with what it is that the business is looking for, basically. So I guess we've already talked a lot about CMS. So typically CMS to do lots of brochureware sites. Search and navigation, use that to power the website search. So we've done some really advanced stuff with indexing external content, bringing it into the website, and yeah, writing some really cool, comprehensive search mechanisms. Pretty much instantly. I have a lot of experience with Optimizer. I was working with it when it was Episerver as well. So yeah, pretty much same day. I don't actually know because I'm not sure what the price is. I've never really been one to get involved in license agreements and stuff like that. But I've got a rough idea, I guess. And yeah, I would say it does give good value for money, indeed. I am. It did. Not all the time. A lot of the time, yes, but not all of the time. Just because sometimes there's challenges around requirements and stuff like that. But that's not a direct. That's not a problem with the product. That's normally a problem with the customer or the business requirements. I would. So yeah, just generally anything within the .NET Microsoft ecosystem. So mentioned Umbraco earlier on, and WordPress and things like that. Salesforce quite a lot. Yeah, lots of CRMs, Dynamics 365, the full kind of Microsoft suite. Yeah, I'd be quite pretty likely. Yeah, I would recommend all of them. I love all of the software I use. It's the reason I use it.